right at this fence line next to each other and make this noise called a chuff at each other. It is the only nice sound a tiger can make. It's like them saying hi to each other, and so it's them blowing air through their nose. So you hear it, I let you know. But it's really like to get here. I'm just doing that back and forth with each other right here at the fence, like seriously for 5 even 10 minutes straight sometimes. So really good to see those relationships. It does make each other more comfortable. So if we ever did move Krishna, we'd move Sarit as well, so they could stay next to each other. Even though they don't need companionship, it is good to keep that if we can. That is why for most of these tigers, we will keep them by themselves though, because they don't need the companionship. They are solitary out in the wild. So with the lions, we would prefer them to be together, but sometimes like with Merlin, it can't be the case. He was too old when he came here. He'd actually see another lion as a competition rather than as a companion. But he'll be fine. He's got Wilson, so he's not completely alone. We'll keep going though. Farah over there looks really excited for her chicken.
Any of your cats ever gotten out?
Nope.
Nope. Figured they'd like running around in the woods.
Might, but they would really probably actually not want to go very far because they know this area, they're safe, they're comfortable, it's like their territory. If they're wandering somewhere else, they don't know that. That's not their territory. It could be someone else's territory.
Gotcha.
And also they know they get food here. That happened to work for it. So they don't want to really go anywhere. Hey, pretty girl. I know, you hungry girl.
Oh, my snack.
I'm working on it. There you go. Gotta chew that, girl. So Sarah here again from that same facility. She actually had a few litters of pups through the years. I know. So one of them is actually right next door. Her name is Jazzy. She's only 2 years old. And Krishna's actually that girl's dad. But she actually has 2 boys as well that are about 4 years old. Their names are Bashir and Dakar. So all of them are pretty energetic, just like she is. Even though she's a bit older, she is very playful and she loves to come out and get her snacks and visit with us. She, like many other cats too, does really love like little kids and little dogs. They love to follow them around. They find them very interesting. So especially if they're out, she'll come out to say hi. Now this girl is very beautiful. I do like to point out, since we have seen 2 of these white tigers, that the color of their stripes is maybe not what you expected. They do have some beautiful brown stripes. That's actually the only color you will ever see. A white tiger with black stripes doesn't exist. But they can be darker or lighter depending on a couple of different factors, their age as well as how much time they're spending out in the sun. So it does change throughout their lifetime. They also have some beautiful blue eyes. So you might have noticed those on the ones that we've seen. But if you ever see a picture online with like green eyes, that's actually not real, it is photoshopped. So you'll only see that blue color. Oh, you tired girlie.
How old is she?
This girl, about 14, 15 now.
Her fangs look like they're worn down today.
Sometimes that will happen, and they could have done that on purpose though at that facility. Or she could have actually broken them herself. Sometimes, especially if like they're upset or they're like just too excited about something, they'll actually put their teeth on the fence and pull on it, and it can actually break their canines if they do it too much. We've had one of our lions do that before, so that can happen. It also could have been for a medical reason. Our girl in next enclosure, Jazzy, she actually had to get a root canal on one of her canines. We have had to do that with a few of them before. So there are a few reasons, but a lot of the things with these cats before they came to us weren't totally told to us. We don't have like complete histories on all of them, so we're not completely sure. Just like Sarit over there, she actually, her ears clipped. We're not sure if they did that on purpose or like maybe she got in a fight with one of the other tigers when they're putting them in there to breed with each other. They might not get along. She might not want to breed, so if one of the other cats is trying to, she might try to fight with them. So things like that could happen. You can also see on the end of this girl's nose here that like spot that she has that's kind of missing fur. A lot of them have it. Merlin did, and that's actually called cage burn. It's from them rubbing their nose up on the end of like the cage whenever they're in a confined space. They'll do that a lot as well. So a couple little things, but for overall, she's doing really well. And she did, again, really transition really well to being here as well and being outside. These breeding cats were actually kept in a warehouse, so they were inside just like Merlin was, but they're doing really good out here. Oh, what's going on? So do you have any other questions about this girl? All right, we'll move down and go over to Jazzy, that 2-year-old. She's very friendly. Oh, I know. Yes. So this girl, she's definitely not a baby anymore, but she does have a lot of growing left to do. They actually will grow until they're about 5 years old. Hey, Sarah, you're okay, girlie. I know, you're okay.
What's up, Mom?
He's like, hi, I'm not gonna hurt you. Hey, Jazz, you want to come say hi? Oh, you gonna spray Mom now? Yeah. You want some turkey? Okay.
Oh.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You sure? Okay. I know, you're like, Mom sprayed me.
Oh no.
Run. So this girl, she might actually try to spray us, but sometimes she actually does that as a flirty behavior, even though we obviously don't want her to be doing that. She doesn't realize. So this girl here, she was doing that chuffing at her mom. She also chuffed it up a little bit. She is another very flirty cat. She loves to come out and visit with us. Very sweet. This girl also, may notice, is a little bit different than our other cat here because she is cross-eyed. That is something that actually affects a lot of white tigers. We have 2 cross-eyed white tigers here on the sanctuary. Right up there that didn't want to come down and visit with us, she also has a deformed palate, another pretty regular mutation that happens with the white tigers. But those ones, luckily, are not going to affect their quality of life. They live pretty normally. There are some bigger issues, though, that they can have. Pretty severe deformities, even stillbirths and organ failures that can happen.
Is that just from inbreeding?
Yeah, it is. So these guys are very rare. Last time we saw one in the wild was in 1954. Yeah.
Whoa!
Everybody's doing it.
Got out of the way just in time.
Yeah. Chill out now. Hi. I know. You're like, I'm so sweet. I don't know what you're talking about. So since they are very rare, people were deciding that they were wanting to breed these animals, and then of course there weren't enough of them, so they would end up resorting to breeding them with their family members, and so that has caused these mutations. It is one of the reasons also why we will see less and less of these animals get bred as we continue in the next decades here. We're going to see fewer and fewer white tigers. Partially because of this, but also because of that mixed breeding I was mentioning with Krishna, where he is the Bengal and Siberian tiger mix. For the zoos and sanctuaries that will breed these animals in those species survival programs that are meant to put these animals back in the wild, they won't do that with a mixed breed because a cat that's as big as Krishna, you wouldn't want to put him with the other Bengals. He'd outcompete them, or there just wouldn't really be a good enough for
Where's
him
the
in
dead
that
one?
space. It wouldn't be a good environment for him. So
No,
we're going to see less of him being bred for that reason. But we'll move on from Jazz. You let her chill out over here. Hopefully stop trying to spray up.
Is there any reason why you guys don't work with another thing to breed? With
So
like
it's
another zoo?
really not in our values to breed these animals, partially just because if we're breeding them and then we're populating this think sort of animals that were born here rather than ones that have come from these bad situations. We couldn't take any of them in.
Gotcha.
But also because it's really our goal eventually to really put ourselves out of business, not have a reason to have these animals. They're really not meant to be in captivity. It's really not great for them in general, and so we'd rather see them out in the wild. And so that's really our goal. It's a long way away though, because just in the state of Texas, there are more tigers than there are in the entire wild. So quite a lot of them. Hey pretty girl, you want to come say hi? Or are you just going to sit up there? That's okay too.
There's an animal safari in Georgia that has bred tigers and lions. They call them ligers.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of places doing that. It's really not going to be good for them. There's even some places around here that have them, but it's going to be a really short life, and it's going to be a very painful life for them because they're really not meant to be like that. The thing that makes them happen like that is basically that lions have what we call growth factors in their genetics, so that the female is basically trying to make the cub smaller so that she can survive birth of the cubs. And the male is like, well, I want bigger cubs because they're going to survive better out in the wild. So when you have two lions breeding together, it's going to balance each other out, and you're going to have a normal sized lion cub. Tigers don't have those though. So whenever you breed it with a female tiger and a male lion, it's going to be the ones that are trying to make it bigger, but nothing trying to make it smaller. And so the mom probably isn't going to survive the childbirth, but the cubs themselves are going to be way bigger, and their bodies really aren't meant to handle that. If you do it the opposite way, where there's a male tiger and a female lion, it's actually going to be a really small animal, and it's called a ligon. They're really not great either, but most people aren't trying to breed those because it's not as cool to have a small animal as it is to have a big animal, so they don't really try to do that as much. But this girl here, her name is Bambi. Very beautiful girl. She is actually another one of those cats from that same magician down in Branson that had Merlin. She is our only yellow leopard here on the sanctuary, which means you can easily tell the difference between her and a jaguar with those beautiful rings there on her side. If there was a spot inside each one of those rings, she actually would be then considered a jaguar. So easy spot difference there, and that's why you won't hear her getting called a panther most of the time, just the black ones. But she actually is not as interested in snacks, especially as it's getting warmer outside. She starts to lose her appetite, and so she's probably not going to come all the way down here to the front with us, which is fine. But I'm glad we can at least see her. Sometimes she kind of hides more in the back of her enclosure. Now Bambi here, she also does know we take pictures of her, so she does kind of try to act like a model sometimes, pose for us a bit. She and Blackie, who's in the next enclosure, he'll be the next one we talk about. They did both come from that magician, and they both did come to us at the same time, which was about 5 years ago now. And so that was most of their life. Bambi just had her 15th birthday, and Blackie's just about to have his 16th birthday here, so that was a long time they were with that magician, really since they were cubs. And that means that they had some of the negative effects that we didn't see with Merlin. And in this entertainment industry, what they will do is not really just give them a treat for a trick, because they're just not really guaranteed to do that in front of an audience. They're going to use what we call negative reinforcement to condition them. That could be using whips, tasers, or even food deprivation to get them to do what they want. That's really stressful, and so to deal with that, she and Blackie both did develop a stress or an anxiety disorder to cope. And so this was over grooming, but it was to the point of self-mutilation, which means not only were they licking themselves enough to lose fur, they were also rubbing themselves so raw that they would cause themselves to bleed and even open up sores. Yeah, it's really painful for them, so it can cause secondary problems like infections as well when they have those open wounds. But this girl is doing so much better now. You can see her fur is doing really well. She actually would overgroom really her whole back half of her body. She was practically bald when she first came here. So for her it was more of a stress behavior, where for Blackie it's more of a habit now at this point after having done that behavior for so long. So when we go over to him, you'll see there's a little bit of fur loss still to this day. But for her, she's really not going to be doing that except if she is really stressed. So it actually can be a way for us to tell if she's ill because that's stressful for them, and they don't really want to show it otherwise. It's a way to protect themselves to not show if they're sick. So she did that a couple of years back, and we discovered that she had what was actually called a pyometra.
A what?
Pyometra. This is an infection that they get basically when they're going into heat but they're not mating. And so the only way to cure this is also the only way to prevent it, which is to spay them. And so now we have spayed her. She's completely recovered. But that does change them physically as well as with their personality.
Those tail looks gray and long. Tail looks gray and long.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of like a grayish tint to it sometimes on there. Just like on her belly, she'll have the white to it instead of the yellow too. But that did cause her to gain some weight, and so she actually put herself on a diet and didn't want to eat like anything. She didn't like feeling heavier than she was used to, but now she's doing a lot better, even though sometimes she still doesn't want to take snacks from us. Now, being she in the backyard, that's actually the same reason why she doesn't get snacks anymore, is because she also got spayed. But then when she started gaining some weight, she was not going to put herself on a diet, and we needed to do it for her. So now she doesn't get any snacks. She was like 160 pounds, where she's actually like 100 pounds now. So she was really unhealthily overweight. But I think this girl is ready to sleep, so we'll move on and over to Blackie and continue our story with him.
How long did you say that they had been here?
About 5 years. 5 years. Yeah, that was actually that they used on Blackie in the magic show. They would bring them out on leashes, especially Bambi here. That was actually really her big trick in the magic show, was just coming out on a leash. And he'd even put like her on his lap and put his arms around her. Had very close contact with these animals. Would not suggest it myself. But Blackie over here, his big trick actually was to jump out of a box. So what they would do is put him inside of it, bring it out on stage, and wait for the opportune moment to have him jump out of there and basically scare people. Now sometimes this only was about 15 minutes in, but sometimes it was the whole magic show long, like over an hour he was stuck in there. So that was really one of his big causes of stress, just not knowing how long he'd be in there, when or really even if he would come out. Now if everyone wants to get a little bit closer with us for a second, so this other group can pass, and we'll spread back out again. It came back down for me. So now this guy, even after having that stress though, his favorite form of entertainment is actually ripping apart cardboard boxes instead of being stuck inside of them. So loves doing that. He in fact has a little bit of remnants of one here he got about a week ago. But this guy here, as I was mentioning, does have some of that fur loss still on that back half of his body. His fur actually is starting to grow back in. We've been trying some new herbal supplements that really seem to be helping with that behavior, but it never really stops completely, just because it is a habit for him. But we're hoping to see more of that fur growth back in there again. But for the part of his body that you can see his fur more, you can see that his spots are a little bit more visible than Midnight's are. He's got more of that brownish tint to his fur, which helps see that difference. But with seeing his skin, especially there on the tip of his tail, you can see that it is a solid color. So the spots don't go all the way down to the skin. But if you were to shave a tiger, you actually could still see their stripes on their skin like all the way. So it's a little difference there.
How much does he eat a day?
This guy about 3 pounds today, plus snacks. So,
What do you normally feed them? Is it just always turkey, or?
turkey, chicken, pork, beef, even horse and bison sometimes. We'll give them some other stuff as well. It depends on really what we get. We get mostly from Walmart and Tyson at donated to us, because we can have their food that's slightly expired to give to these animals. They have some extra bacteria in their gut that can still digest that.
Cool.
But it is all raw and it is all in season. If there's any seasoning, they won't touch it. We also will get some stuff donated to us from other places as well, or even buy some stuff sometimes, especially rabbit. We have one cat, she has a disease that makes it hard for her to digest, and so the rabbit is easier on her stomach that way.
snowball.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions about this guy? Alright, we'll go over to Jiva. That guy actually doesn't really come down for us very often. I'm really excited to see him. And Jiva here, he's not quite really warmed up to the course yet. He got moved down here just about a month ago. Hi, bud. Yeah. So he's very, very sweet, but sometimes it still is a little stressful for him. But Jiva was actually one of those performance cats from the leasing company. Alright, there you go. That's all you get. One piece, bud. So he is a little bit older.
I
and
just swallowed it.
yeah, and he had a little bit more of a stressful life than those younger ones. Because just like these magician cats, the negative reinforcement was used on them. And it really does show that it's very scary for him. Like, even just some of the poles we use to like ship them into different parts of their enclosure, he's like afraid of them, and especially vehicles he's really afraid of as well. So just a little bit more of a skittish kind of cat sometimes, but he is one of the sweetest cats I have ever seen. No matter, whenever he's seeing somebody, like he always chops at them first thing he sees them. He loves coming to say hi. So we're really excited to get him down here to see people, but he just doesn't quite understand tours yet sometimes, and he doesn't always get snacks during the day. You have to catch him at the right time, which is the first and last tour usually, because for these older cats, the biggest problems that they have with their health are going to be kidney failure and cancer. Not much you can do to prevent cancer, but to prevent the kidney failure, we give them some medication which is called Azadil, and they have to get that twice a day, and they have to eat when they get that medicine, and only when they get that medicine. So he doesn't get to get snacks in the middle of the day like most other cats do. Which means that also in the middle of the day, he doesn't really want to come down as much because he knows that. So these cats are really smart. They will realize that when they're getting snacks and what they're getting. So Jiva here, he most of the time just wants to stay in his bedroom, which is perfectly alright, but it is really cool for us to see him down here and interacting with people. I'm getting really used to that.
What time do they have supper?
So for this guy, it would be usually around 3:34 is when we try to give them their dinner. Yeah, and then we try to give them their breakfast like first thing in the morning, so like right at like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Schedule. Good schedule.
Yeah. But most of these cats actually get one big meal a day instead of splitting it up into two, and they'll get that right in the middle of the day around noon. And this is to try to simulate what they're getting in the wild, where they get that big kill and that's what they eat at one time, rather than little meals throughout the day. And in fact, sometimes these cats would go weeks without getting a meal, and so they would usually eat more than what we give them, but since they are consistently getting food every day, they get smaller meals than they would out in the wild. Any questions about Jiva here?
Are most of the animals you have been abused?
A lot of them have, yeah. We have got some from some good zoos or sanctuaries before, some that aren't from as bad of the situations, but most of them really just in captivity aren't really going to have a very nice history, especially until recently. Even places that called themselves sanctuaries really weren't very good to these animals. They didn't treat them very well, and that's just because that's what you did. That was normal. It wasn't really, people didn't think about what these animals would feel like or what was good for them as much. It's just not how people thought. So we've seen a lot of good changes recently where places are trying to be better and take better care of these animals, but there's still places that really aren't going to be very nice to them and are still going to exploit them for really money is what the thing is most of the time.
How much money do you think you spend on these animals?
Oh, a lot of money. The estimate for just one tiger to keep them for a year is around $40,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's worth it though, huh?
Yeah. So people that keep these animals as pets have to have a lot of extra money to be able to do that.
I feel like your job.
That's a good picture right there.
So for volunteering and stuff, nothing required. But for working here, we require at least being in school, and so seeking a degree or having a degree. But I'm still going to school at Missouri State University. So
Is it in veterinary then?
seeking a degree in wildlife biology. We actually have some people that actually are not seeking a degree in this field, and we have one that she's an anthropology major. longer. So it kind of depends. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is that veterinarians, or does that go along with your education?
So we do have a veterinarian that he is on call for us all the time. They have 3 actually veterinarians that are there on staff at that facility. So if one of our veterinarians is like out of the town or something, there's someone there all the time on call for us. And so if there's something little, we can just actually just call them and say this is what's going on, and they might be able to just tell us to give them some medication that we already have. But if it's severe enough, we will actually have to take them up to the vet. That's about an hour north of here though, so we try not to do that if we don't actually have to, and sometimes they will come down here too. So if it's something like a cut that looks like it might have got infected or something like that, then they can come down here and deal with that here rather than bringing them up there. It's really only if they have to do surgery we won't have to take them up there because we can't do that on the facility. Alright, we're going to move down here now. I want to go see our next girl. Her name is Tiki. Hi, good boy.
I'm ready for my snacks.
Oh yeah, she is.
Like a little mountain lion.
Yep, she is. Do we know any other names for her?
Cougar.
Lynx.
So cougar, yeah. Puma, catamount are going to be some other popular ones. That's going to be different. They're going to have the bigger ears and tufts and stuff. They're going to be shaped a little differently. There's actually over 80 different names for this girl. So the reason for that is because she does have the largest range of natural territory of any big cat. So you can find her all the way up from Alaska, all the way down to the tip of South America. So that's very large range over 2 continents, means that in different places we're going to call her different things. So each one just as good as the next. Although technically Puma is the most scientifically accurate of her names because it is her genus name. Just like the Panthera we were mentioning earlier. So she is from a different group, which means she is going to be different from our other cats here. The big primary difference is in their vocal cords. So all of our other big cats here, they can roar, but she cannot do that. Although she can make a purring sound because she is more closely related to like a house cat than our other big cats on the sanctuary. And she can also make a sound that is like a woman screaming.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it can be pretty scary to hear, especially like if it's in the middle of the night, you're camping, and then this blood-curdling woman scream out of nowhere. Sounds like someone is being murdered out there.
Oh my gosh.
So good news, it's not what's going on, but maybe some bad news. She could still be very close, so you're going to want to watch out for her. This is primarily a mating call though, so it's not something either of our 2 females will do anymore since they both have been spayed. But they could still choose to if they wanted to, just not going to happen very often.
Did you get it?
But Tiki here, she was another girl that did come from private ownership, so she was another one kept as a pet, and that means she was also declawed, and this is going to affect her a little bit differently than our other cats here. Because we mentioned it a little bit at midnight, but with this declawing, a lot of people don't realize exactly what they're doing. They think it's just like removing a nail. It's not the case though. It's actually like amputating that first digit of the finger. Leaves those nerve endings really raw and sensitive. But these big cats are also what we call digitigrades, which means they walk with their weight basically more like up on their knuckles. And then when you cut that first digit off, it forces them to uncurl the toes and walk on the big middle pad of their foot. So like Merlin, very flat-footed, might have noticed, because he was declawed as well. But for this girl, she actually has some tendinitis. So instead of being flat like his are, hers try to curl up on themselves still a bit. So it makes her pretty unsure on her feet, which is why even though she is also a climbing cat, she doesn't have things to get up on here because it's a little harder for her to get around. But she is doing really well. We do give all the Kicklod some supplements to help with the joint problems that they can have and keep the swelling down. But this girl is really sweet, or at least she has become so fairly recently. If I came around without any snacks, she probably would be hissing at me pretty much constantly. She doesn't really like people just being around, but she does like to come down for tours because she knows she's getting those snacks, which is a really good improvement because even just a year ago, I would have to work with her really slowly to get her all the way around the enclosure to get that one snack, and then she'd run away immediately. So a really good change that now she'll stay down here with us the whole time, and she does even sometimes purr for us. Yeah, you can come back down. Hi. Oh, you got a purr for us right now?
Aw,
You're like, you just said I would.
she's waiting.
So
how
our
she walks.
other girl, Banshee, in the
bother.
backyard that wouldn't come out, she is also a mountain lion. She is a bit smaller than Tiki is. So this girl is a little bit on the larger side for a mountain lion. While Banshee's more what you would expect from them. Does anybody have any more questions about her? Alright. So we're going to move back down in the other direction, and we're going to see our two biggest tigers here on the sanctuary. They're about 500 pounds.
Good shot.
Oh, big boys.
Yeah.
Sorry, no more snacks.
He's like, but I want them.
Someone?
Tell how she walks and her feet bother her.
Come on. Come on.
See how her toes are? You can tell her feet hurt her.
Jonathan, wait.
Mm-hmm. See how gingerly she walks? All right, come on.
Why do everyone get in my way? Yeah.
Here, honey, walk in front of me. I wasn't trying to be in your way.
Hey, kitty, kitty. Hey, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Wow. I like to see your food though.
But surprisingly, she must have a really good metabolism because she is not eating a lot of anything. Our last ones we're getting to see on the sanctuary today. Their names are Harry and Cora. Head out that side room door right there. And then Cora is laying in the back of his bed right now. He pretty much doesn't come out all day. You can see him laying on his back like that. That's pretty normal. He's probably going to maybe roll around in there, but not really come out unless he gets in his pool. For these two guys, it's a lot harder for them in the middle of the summer when it's hot out because they're what we consider that Siberian or a mer tiger that's made for that colder climate. So they are going to have a harder time being hot, which means that not only do we make sure that their pools are filled with nice cold water all the time, but we also give them like little showers during the day with the hose to cool them off and make sure they're not overheated. Now these two guys, again, are about 500 pounds, really big cats, but they actually are still fairly young, just about 5 years old now. They just finished growing recently. I'm going to try to make Harry wait for his snack here, because sometimes he's a little ornery after he gets his snack, just like Krishna. But he is pretty food aggressive, so he might decide that he just doesn't want to be patient anymore, so I might have to give it to him in a minute here. But these two guys here, even though they are still fairly young, they do come from one of our saddest stories here on the sanctuary. Here those lions currently again. You see food up there on top of his bedroom. He's pretty much always the one to guard it. Talking about today. They're not fighters talking to each other. It's actually kind of funny because a lot of it is about territory, so really them doing this is kind of like them saying, I'm still here, I'm not going anywhere. They don't go anywhere. But Anyway, back to these guys. Even though they are still fairly young, they do come from really one of our saddest stories here on the sanctuary. They come from what we would consider pay to play or cub pay. So this is where you can hold a tiger when they're cubs, you can play with them, you can even bottle feed them at some places. So this seems like a really cool opportunity. Not many people can say that they've held a tiger. But what they're not going to tell you is that it's really bad for these animals themselves. So I want to make sure I'm never going to try to shame anybody for having done this or even having wanted to do this before, because people don't know how bad it is for the cats themselves. But the biggest problem here is that the only time these cats are legally allowed to be held by the public is from the period of 8 to 12 weeks old. So there are some that do things illegally, but we'll just stick to the legal ones. If you're handing this 8-week-old tiger cub to a person, if that is their first human interaction ever, it is not going to end well for either of them. So what they do is take these guys away from their moms at about 8 weeks old, trying to get them used to this human interaction. So that's about the first time he would have been opening his eyes. Never even seen mom before. And she would usually take care of him for about 3 years in the wild. The fact that she's not taking care of him at all means he's going to have a fairly lowered immune system. He's not nursing from her, so he's not getting that good nourishment. And he's just not learning how to be a tiger from her either. At the same period of time, though, they would take him and pass him around, being constantly held by different people for about 10 hours a day. And, of course, being kept awake this 10 hours was not really getting much used to people if he slept through the whole experience. This causes some more problems with this guy because he actually would sleep about 22 hours a day as a cub. So much, but he needs that sleep. So he's going to have an even further lowered immune system, and he actually wasn't growing well during that period of time because of not being able to get enough sleep. Now, during this 8 to 12 week period, though, when he would be able to be held by the public, he'd get passed around to actually about 100 people a day, trying to get that money's worth for the very short amount of time that they can. So, this guy here, he would still be kept up long hours. He have a lot of overstimulation as well. There's a lot of things going on there. But the biggest problem is the amount of germs he is encountering for that very lowered immune system. So many of these cats are going to get really sick at that point. After this 12 weeks is over, though, if you think about it from a business point of view, these cats are worthless to them at that point. They're not making money off of them anymore, and they're also losing money off of them. So they will try to get rid of them as quickly and as easily as possible. Most of the time that is by selling them into private ownership. But if they cannot do that, if they cannot give them to a zoo or a sanctuary, what they will end up doing is euthanizing some of them as well. So with all of this put together, it is actually an 80 to 90% mortality rate for cubs that go through this system. So these two boys here, they are a perfect statistic. They come from the same place but from separate litters, and they are each the only one from their litter to survive. And our litter is anywhere from about 2 to 6 cubs.
That's just mean.
And so that's one of the big things that we try to do is we're trying to get things changed legally, but the bigger thing is also just trying to get people informed, because if people aren't wanting to go to these, then they're not going to make enough money and they're not going to put that money into the system. Just like with circuses and magic shows, that's where we've been seeing the big changes, not in changes in laws, but in changes in the consumers. They're not making enough money to be able to hold on to these animals anymore.
How long have you had them?
These guys we have had since they were about 6 months old. So
Were they fairly people friendly when you got them?
A little bit. This guy, I would not want to get anywhere close to him with a bucket of food, for sure. He is so food aggressive, but they're very sweet guys. They know people and stuff. They definitely, you can tell when they've been around people and when they haven't, because they know that from us, and that's one of the big reasons why we would not be able to put any of these animals back into the wild ever, because they would come up to people expecting food, and having this guy come at you, running at you, thinking you're going to give him some chicken would be very scary. Yeah. So they probably wouldn't survive very long because of that, because they'd probably get killed because someone thought they were going to try to attack them.
And how do you feed him?
So this guy, he actually gets that pan right there. We'll take it out and we'll give him a pan with food, that one that has water in it. We'll take it out and we'll put water or food in that different pan, and then we'll pull it right out.
But you can get it without him coming after you?
Yeah, you can just like pull it from right here. You can just pull it right out and push it right in. Oh, am I gonna take your water? Are you mad? He's like, I know you don't have food. But I am gonna give him his snack.
Because I'm gonna get
You
a
see
drink.
that?
And because he
See
is
the
a
fangs
pretty
on
big
them
guy
suckers?
and he loves his snacks, I am gonna be able to get him up on his back legs. So I'd suggest getting your camera ready because it doesn't
Get ready
last
to
for
take a
very
pic.
long.
Get
You might even
ready.
want to
She's
try a
gonna-
video just
She's
to
gonna
make
lift
sure
it
you
up so you can see how high he is.
How hard is it to get the tigers away from their cubs?
I know, you're so grabby. There you go, boy.
Did you get it?
Was that yummy?
Can I get it?
How hard is it to take them, the cubs away from the mother?
Taking
So
him over the black bear.
it can be kind of hard for them. It's not something we would ever try to do, but if they ever got them to where they weren't right next to each other, they could kind of take them away. But the moms also in those systems are pretty used to people kind of telling them what to do, and they might be kind of scared of people because they might not be very nice to them. So as much as they would be protective of their cubs, they also would be scared of people that were taking them. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go up here now. I'm not getting anything else out of you, which is perfectly fine to me because sometimes once he gets his snack, what he'll do is jump up on top of that bedroom and try to spray us because he thinks it's funny to watch people run and scream. And of course, he thinks that up there on that bedroom at face height is the perfect place to do it.
He's a comedian.
Oh yeah. And then he walks away after that though because he thinks we got all the entertainment out of us that he needed, and then we can all go. But he is again going to be our last cat here on the sanctuary today. So if you have any other questions about him or any of our other cats, I can answer them as we're heading back in. And even once we get all the way back inside, I'll be there and fill some of the other staff members that could answer some questions for you as well. But as we are heading back in, I just want to remind you that you can hang out in that backyard as long as you'd like with those cats. And especially then, if you have questions about them, I'd be happy to answer. And then start heading back up this way.
All right. We can always zoom in those pictures too and get a better picture.
Daddy, why couldn't we see the lion?
It wasn't part of the tour. That's okay. We saw a lot of stuff.
On this covered patio area as well. Alright, if you want to keep coming down this way.
You hungry now? Yeah, me too. We'll run up to Lambert to eat. Get us a picture. I was standing there, maybe took a few here.